Hello, welcome to Studio SX. I am your interviewer for the next 25 minutes, Nick Patoski, the author of this fine book, which will be out in 4 weeks, Willie Nelson, An Epic Life. And I'm here speaking with a critical component of the whole Willie Nelson sound, and that's Mickey Raphael, a member of the family band, harmonica player, and man of the world. And when it comes to Willie, I always think there's 3 defining, distinguishing features. I can hear that voice and know it's Willie. I can hear the way he plays guitar and know it's Willie. But when I hear that harmonica, I know for damn well sure that's Willie. And Mickey, you've been with Willie how many years now?
35 years.
That's a month of Sundays in the music business. How did you stumble into this job?
I think it was just being at the right place at the right time. I met him through Coach Royal, through Darryl Royal, introduced me to him. He called me up and said, we're having a little picking session in my hotel room after the ball game. Come over, bring me your harmonicas, meet some of my friends. And Willie was there, and Willie heard me play and said, well, why don't you come sit in with us next time we play in the area? And I was living in Dallas at the time. I think I was 19. And I saw that they were playing at a high school gymnasium for a volunteer fire department. And I went out and sat in with them, and he said, well, we're going to New York in a couple of months. Actually, it was Max's Kansas City in 1972 or 73. Come up and play with us, and I did, and it's kind of the way it started.
And baptism by fire, I would say.
Exactly, especially at Max's, yeah. I had already started playing with them for a while, and we've been playing all these little country western bars and joints that there's no way I could get in these places by myself without the rest of the band that was armed.
Now, most of the folks would think, well, you're a Texan, you grew up in Dallas. Willie's a Texan, grew up in Abbott, was living in Austin at the time, but you're coming from a different musical culture scene, were you not, when you met him?
Yeah, I really didn't have any country background. I kind of grew up in the folk scene, musically, folk and like acoustic blues and the band and the Rolling Stones. And then, blues-wise was Paul Butterfield, was kind of who I was listening to. So when I went to work with Willie, I kind of did it on a lark. I thought, well, this would be interesting to travel around with a country western band with these guys. Little did I know it was, it wasn't just country. I mean, it was all kinds of musical influences that he was involved in.
Did that become obvious pretty quickly, or was that something that just was evolving?
Well, for the first several years, I was so lost musically. I said, this is not your standard 1-4-5 music progressions. That. I was used to listening to, or when I thought of country music. It's pretty sophisticated musically. So, and I'm still lost in a lot of stuff. I'm still, doing new stuff every night because we've just got so much freedom with Willie.
Now, these motel picking sessions, I would think that there were a lot of country standards that would have been played with Coach Royal and Willie and Charlie Pride and folks like that. What did you do?
Just listened. I learned to listen, keep my mouth shut, and listen. Because I really didn't know these standards. I mean, some of them I was familiar with, but I'd never really played them in a real situation where I was playing these songs. So I would just kind of listen, and I had a good ear musically, and I would just kind of follow along. But when they would say, we'll take a solo, I'd better have the melody in my head by then because I was really pretty lost.
What's the difference? I mean, I get a sense when I think country music and harmonica, my brain always goes back to Charlie McCoy. I remember in the 60s and 70s he was a big session player. But where does the harmonica fit in this music? And is it country or what is it? How do you fit in this ensemble?
It's such a versatile instrument, but then it's limited too. I mean, the harmonica is really not used so much. It's not like steel guitar or fiddle. You wouldn't really think of the harmonica in country music as a mainstream instrument. Charlie McCoy really made it popular. Before him, D. Ford Bailey.
From the Grand Ole Opry.
From Grand Ole Opry. Oni Wheeler, who was a wonderful singer-songwriter, played harmonica. But it wasn't an instrument that was used on every record, on every country record. So it was kind of unique, the fact that Jimmy Day left the band, and Willie's the school where he would never replace Jimmy with another steel player, and I just happened at the right time, so he brought me into the band.
So there wasn't a whole lot of forethought on this because when I look historically, that defined the introduction of your harmonica changed his sound. And there's really pre-harmonica, which is traditional Nashville recordings for RCA, and then anything goes, it seems like, after the point you arrive. So do you feel like you have a pretty free rein to do whatever you want?
Yeah, I think I do, because there wasn't anybody I'm copying, really, and I kind of had to make up, as I'm going along, make up what I was playing, you know, so there was nobody really, nobody's footsteps to follow it. So I had to just create a space for myself. I mean, Willie gave me free rein and never said anything other than just play what you feel, you know, or don't play if you don't hear it, you know, so that's, you know, that was real important. Which one of the best musical lessons I ever got was from Grady Martin, who was our guitar player for a while, wonderful studio musician for many years, played on a lot of hits. And finally one day he just said, he said, man, smoke a cigarette. He goes, take that damn thing out of your mouth. You play too much, which is probably the best advice I ever got.
You didn't feel insulted or anything?
No, you know, his delivery wasn't very, he wasn't very tactful in his delivery, but I got the message pretty quick.
So, how do you define your sound? What distinguishes the way you play from everybody else?
I think I'm just a good player that knows how to listen, you know, and can hear a lyric and maybe paint an image with it. You know, I kind of like to be a chameleon. I like to fit into any, you know, any situation. I'm not strictly a blues player by any means, but I just like to be kind of like to fit into any situation.
You played blues. I know last week you were up in Dallas playing with the symphony, and whenever Willie plays out of his element, the one thing I noticed is one anchor is he takes you along, and I guess you're the reassurance no matter what kind of a musical atmosphere he's in.
Yeah, and it's really not him taking me along. I either get a call from the producer, the conductor, you know.
So they're listening. They find your sound to be pretty integral. And I was wondering if you could show us just what you do with that thing, because I've tried playing those before, and it doesn't come out sounding the same way. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. It's just kind of breathing through the thing. You know, it's So I had a lot of musical influences when I was growing up. Paul Butterfield, a guy from Dallas named Donnie Brooks, who played with Waylon on a lot of records. And Donnie was probably the one that was the closest to me. He actually sat me down and played and showed me how to...
Did he impart any valuable advice?
Yeah, exactly. He showed me this riff, which is a diatonic scale all the way up the harmonica. And with that particular pattern, it's really the basics for everything I play. So you can play with those notes. You can...
Now that sounds more like blues to me than what people would say. Hey, that's country. That doesn't sound country.
No, because it's just, I guess, just how you interpret, how you play it. For like a blues lick, you go. And if it's like with the same notes for country, you can go.
Now I remember last spring, you're out playing the Fillmore in San Francisco, and I got to watch those dates. But I remember visiting you in your motel room, and you were doing a recording session on your computer. And I think was it for Kenny Chesney? You're doing over?
Yeah.
What's up with technology like that? I mean, I thought when you recorded your overdubbing, you have to go to a studio and do this.
Yeah, that's probably one of the signs of the apocalypse, is that a harmonica player can
Phone
do his own recording session,
room.
right? Well, you know, with the computer and Pro Tools, somebody can email me a file of a song. I can load it into the computer and then just do an overdub on the harmonica with a microphone and say an M-box, which is a
Well, you listen to the
interface.
track, or does the producer tell you, give you suggestions, or you just kind of feel your way
He
through?
might just say, listen to it and just play what you feel. And usually I'll do a track where I'm playing all the way through, so they can comp it, they can edit it, and then I'll do another take where it might be a little more tasteful, where I wouldn't play all the way through the song. So I'll send them 4 or 5 passes or more, you know, and I can send them immediately, and then I can get feedback from the producer. And that's usually if I can't get into a studio.